Good evening, and welcome to Sparko Gaming by Allport SuperCars NZ. This is Doug, and I'm joined in the broadcasting lounge this evening with Shane White. We are heading into week 7 of our championship, and tonight we are following the Div 1 races around Twin Ring MotorJ. How are we feeling about tonight, Shane?
Yeah, excited. Round 7 already. Can't believe we're already over halfway through the championship. So these guys will be starting to look at where they're placed in the championship and who they're fighting, and they'll be looking to make sure that they're ahead of those guys that they are fighting at the end of the races tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly been an action-packed season, and as we've sort of caught wind through some of the other streams, the Div 1 series is obviously things have been heating up quite dramatically with some probably questionable driving behaviours and standards taking place and keeping our guys up at race control very busy. That's Nick Mitchell in the MRX safety car, and also our other lead admin, Sean McNamara, who'll be taking on the race control duties, reviewing that footage of any incidents that take place. So we've got 2 races tonight, so that those boys might be a wee bit busy. What do you reckon there, Shane?
Yeah, well, there's certainly been some stern reminders from race control towards the drivers, so hopefully the majority of them will take that on board and we will see an improvement in the driving standards, but I can almost guarantee that there will be some sort of action out there that will require race control to step in and have to take some sort of action.
There we go. We've also got a bit of a giveaway happening later on, which we will talk about for one lucky driver. I won't give up too much detail around what that is or how they will be, how they'll be judged on there as such, because sometimes we have some of these drivers watching the streams at home to try and catch us out on any little bit of tidbits and of information that we may give away. So we'll keep that card close to our chest for the moment, and we'll talk more about that one later on. But how about you give us a quick rundown about this week's sponsor there, Shane?
Yes, the Simblack's stepping in to sponsor us this week. So massive brand in the New Zealand sim racing industry. Obviously there were a number of brands that we saw pop up during the lockdown boom, the COVID boom, I guess, for sim racing, where a lot of those guys were motor racing brands that stepped into sim racing. But Simblacks is probably the biggest dedicated sim racing brand that we've got. Started out building, supplying aluminium extrusion chassis to sim racers, and now they've grown their business to the point where they are the New Zealand stockist for some Magic products.
Yeah, certainly an awesome thing, and I know Stefan over there from Simblacks is more than willing to get in touch with anyone who might be looking at getting into the market and might not necessarily be wanting to sell you anything of his, but a great person to talk to related to sim racing products. And they've got a few drivers in the field sporting the Simblack colours, and one of those in the field tonight is Dion de Graaf, currently qualified 6th, but he sports the number 1, and the number 1 on the side of his car for good reason. That's because he was last season's number 1 champion out of all of our drivers through the summer series. So if that's of anything to go by, they obviously have a good drivers lineup behind them, and they give them good products to race with.
Yeah, for sure. An awesome driver lineup that they've got there. Dion de Graaf, massively talented, massively fast. And they also have Richie Stanaway as, I guess, a more casual part of their driver lineup as well. So that goes to show just how much talent there is within that Simblacks lineup.
As indeed. And we've briefly been interrupted by Sean McNamara stealing another beer from the beer fridge and announcing himself with a gracious burp. So how are we going this evening, Sean?
Oh, you heard that? Well, I was trying to get your attention, but you guys just talk a good storm. So I thought I'd have a quick rundown. In qualifying, 2 people were given negative 10 points for bad sportsmanship and contact with other vehicles. So that's something new we've brought in.
There we go.
There we go. So we're trying to clean it up. in race control, and the racing hasn't been that clean. So, yeah. So I thought I'd just come up and tell you, yeah, two drivers got some naughty points against them.
Oh,
So we'll see how the race goes.
you might have to message Shane what racing numbers they are, so we can possibly keep an eye on some driving standards throughout the evening.
We have. All right, we've got 14 seconds to go, so I'm going to leave you guys to it. Good luck.
All right, mate. You have a good call.
You too, mate. Cheers.
So, there you go. So, something a bit different there, Shane.
Yeah, very interesting. So good to see that the drivers have been held accountable in qualifying as well. As looks like we're about to get a start as the lights start coming up.
Green.
And they're off, and Connor gets a slow start from the front row. Bruce has got to jump in and look to challenge SVG down into turn 1 here.
4 wide there in the mid-pack.
And Taylor Mitchell challenging Connor Nixon on the inside at turn 1, but Connor just able to carry the momentum around the outside and hold on to position there. Shane Gisbergen out front at the moment. Bruce Tannock went quite wide through the middle part of that chicane, so that's going to give Connor the run on him down in towards turn 6 here. Bruce defending the inside line as Connor goes to the outside.
Got one
and
person
there's a bit of a touch.
showing data, Blake Greenhall crashed and then off track. So we'll have a look back at that in a minute.
Bruce and Connor fighting super hard on the opening lap here. We got Bruce defending on a couple of occasions, and that's giving Connor the momentum to try and challenge him into the next set of corners. But Bruce at the moment just able to position his car in the right spot that he can't allow Connor to find a way past.
Ooh, and we've got Wade Michael off in the background of the sand trap.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Wade and the Skulls and Sim Sports there as they come around to finish the first lap. Shane Gisbergen leads by 1.5 seconds already while these guys are fighting behind him. Bruce Tannock sitting second, leading that pack in behind, and Connor keen to find a way past, but Bruce not leaving the door open as yet.
And through this section of track here, very, very demanding on rear grip of the tyres, isn't it? It's very hard to get that power down quickly, or else you'll be saying hello to probably doing some type of pancake dance and saying hello to some walls maybe.
Yeah, very easy to lose the rear end through there. Very important to get on the right line as well. We saw Bruce run a little bit wide through the middle of that on lap 1, and that was what allowed Connor to initially put that pressure onto him, and he hasn't been able to shake him as yet. He's been able to hold him off and take some more natural lines now, but Connor's still there, still threatening, still looking for a way past.
Certainly is. Now just behind this battle pack here we have Taylor Mitchell, so he will be he'll be keeping a keen eye on any action that takes place ahead of him. He's certainly not shy to take a move himself. So now I think there's been a bit of a transition. Connor now going a wee bit defensive as we see Taylor Mitchell flashing those lights at him saying, yep, I'm here, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, you can see just how quickly the momentum shifts from Connor being on the attack to now looking in his mirrors and thinking about whether he needs to cover Taylor Mitchell there. We did just have a drive-through penalty announced a moment ago. That was for car 8, which I had found and now I've lost. It was Steve Bradford.
Okay, yep.
So I have a suspicion he may have been involved in the Wade Michael incident.
Right, yeah. Was that Ryan Cottrell, did you say? Sorry?
No, Steve Bradford.
Okay, no, I didn't actually see his name come up during that, but very interesting to see. We have a little bit further of a look back. So behind Taylor we've got James Anderson. He's got the ITM colours on tonight, and he's currently being stalked pretty hard by car 47 Craig Mason, who's up just one car position currently. So a few battles looking like they might be starting to form. Further back from them, up 4 grid spots currently, is Bryce Harding. That's a good move in the right direction for him. And just in behind him at the moment is Heath Parlett, Skeleton Sim Sports. I think Heath and Bryce tend to have pretty good racing battles, so I don't think we should see too much drama between them, but as the race gets on towards the end, we'll see how close those two can get towards each other. Take a quick moment to look back at the Blake Grenhall incident quickly, because I don't see his name too far up the grid order, so we'll just see if there was anything with that.
Right in the thick of the action there, and
Oh,
took a hit from
half
behind,
spin,
unfortunately.
and then a flick round. So probably survived any sort of real immediate damage, but just unfortunate for Blake after qualifying in 19th to be spun out and pushed through to the back. So a few cars have come through the pit lane as well, I believe now. So his race position is currently showing a bit further ahead, so we'll see if he can make much of a recovery from that as he just goes blowing by Heath Parlett and Dion de Graaf in the pit lane there, so we'll see what happens after the rejig around on that. We'll have a look out the front, and this man's still doing it. 3 seconds clear of the battle happening behind him. Bruce Tannock over Connor Nixon, Taylor Mitchell and James Anderson. Still the closest battle pack that's happening there. You've run pretty clean.
So Shane's certainly in control of the race at the moment with a 3-second lead out front, and yeah, this does look to be the battle of the race at the moment, with Bruce still continuing to hold off Connor Nixon, probably just holding enough of a gap that he's not an immediate threat at the moment, but still close enough that he has to be constantly thinking about him being there, not wanting to open the door up for Connor to drive through, and then Taylor sticking close enough to Connor as well that Connor will similarly be having to think about him, and
Indeed.
James Anderson just looks to be joining the back of this pack as well.
Yeah, well, James is sort of down one grid spot from where he started, but he's doing enough to keep on to the back of this group here. They're not pulling away from him, so that's good to see. And I can quite happily point out, and it is by your good grace, and I'm eternally thankful for you for it, helping me out with my data. I can tell the folks at home that we're on lap 6 of 12.
That's very helpful, isn't it?
Indeed.
Now you just need to fix up those logos up the top right.
Oh, I know. It's all over the place. We can go down there for the minute. We've got some cool sponsors, though. We really do. Sparko Gaming, our main season named right sponsor from Allports Gaming. It's really, really freaking awesome. Gloves, boots, socks, seats and bits and pieces, or anything like that sim related. Get in touch with Allports Gaming for your Sparko gaming needs.
Yeah, well, you could go and pick yourself up a chassis and a Sim Magic wheel from Simblax, and then head over to Allports and get yourself Sparko seat and some gloves and boots to go with it.
Sounds like it would be a delightful afternoon of shopping in my mind. Not too fond on going out and buying, flash bracelets or watches or anything like that, but sign me up any day to go and find some sim racing products for sure.
Absolutely.
So
How would the wife feel about that though, Doug?
So anyway, we're on board with Bruce Tannock here, currently in 4th spot after taking his pit stop. Thank you, Shane. Should be fine, FYI. as long as she didn't know. Well, we got Craig Mason pushing.
Oh, who's that going off the track?
That was Eamon just outbraking himself there and then rejoining back across. Connor Nixon coming through into the pit lane. So everything's looking pretty car pie at the moment. The only ones haven't stopped yet. This man here in first, the gentleman here in second, and I was going to say Eamon Young, but he's now just doing that. So 4 laps to go. Shane van Gisbergen currently leading the field by nearly 7 seconds, and Taylor Mitchell just in behind him, stretching that out. So I don't envisage we'll see Taylor run too much longer. He was probably just grateful to get a wee bit of fresh air, and I suppose having the ever elusive Van Gisbergen ahead of you may will you on just to push the car just a little bit more, and just pushed a bit too much. So I was going to say that'll.
Oh, and he's going to find the wall as well.
That's unfortunate. I was going to say he was going to warrant himself a slowdown penalty at least. Look, and he's hit his pit limiter there at the same time. I reckon he's just knocked the button on the wheel to turn the car off. So struggling with that. Come on, Taylor.
Yeah, well, having not yet taken his pit stop, he's dropped
and a
him the time
toe.
to have and towing back to the pits. So
Bugger. That's incredibly unfortunate there. So I'm wondering if that bit of contact was enough to, with downshift, and maybe blew a motor or something.
yeah, I almost wonder if there's more to the story than what we saw with Taylor going off, because it looked a bit weird.
Just the way it happened, eh?
Yeah,
We'll call it equipment failure.
could well be.
All I know is Nick up in race control, who's a safety car driver, is also his son, who we were just talking about there, Taylor. He was probably shouting out, Dad, throw a safety car, Dad, I've just crashed. And I could imagine Nick laughing hysterically, probably. What else we got happening around here? Aaron Goodrick having a good battle here alongside Jason. Is it Jason Cossey that he's just fallen behind here? Jason looks to be sporting some new colours. That's throwing me off a wee bit. Aaron's car's looking even more impressive than the last time I saw it. The Rosetown entry with some MRX logos on there that look like they've gone through the flamethrower procedure.
That's looking very cool, and the nice silver fern down the side as well.
I like that, and a bit of a matte but chrome silver wrapping around the sides as well. So I do like. Jason Cossey, Digital Bogans, but he's got diesel. Do we have any data on information on that one?
So I believe Diesel D is the new sponsor for Digital Bogans.
Okay, well there we go. So that looks pretty cool. Got some big hulking gorilla folding his arms on the side of the car. But, what else we got happening? 2 laps to go. Wade Michael.
So I have just noticed that through the pit stop phase, Bruce Tannock has been able to put a 2-second gap on Connor Nixon, who was fairly close to him before they came into the pits. So that's turned around. And just on that shot as well, we can see Taylor Mitchell has come back out onto the track, albeit a lap down. So good on Taylor for sticking it out after having to tow back to the pits. But massively disappointing to be a lap down in amongst the guys that he was fighting earlier on.
Of course. So Shane is now in the pit lane. Got a bit of a view there. The other guy's just coming around the back corner. And Shane just running out there now. So I don't think he's going to be under too much pressure. He's still got a healthy margin there. But it's awesome to see Mr. Tannock. He'll be wanting to make sure that gap margin doesn't extend out any further towards towards the end, and I'd say for Bruce, he'll be pretty happy with himself that he's been able to shake Connor Nixon as well. Taylor doesn't really need to do much except stay clean in between the two of them, and he's not impeding any racing action at the moment, so no one can get blue in his ear.
Yeah, though, I think Connor is slightly closing the gap to Bruce ahead, but I think he's probably going to run out of laps to get to the point where he probably would be justified to expect Taylor to move out of the way. Nice battle here, though. Tony Lynch
Sure
just
is.
ahead of Oliver Patterson.
Yep. I was going to say, Oliver Patterson there from Vermilion Motorsports, up 10 grid spots. It's the biggest gain of any driver in the field at the moment. So started in 22nd, up to 12th spot now. He'll be looking forward to charging on in the second race. As we've had the white flag come up, this man here, Bruce has actually pulled that gap margin down from 1.8 to 1.1, so maybe Shaden's made a wee bit of a mistake, or just trying to push those tyres a bit too much after coming out of the pits. I would say that he's probably got it in the bag, but still a few more tricky corners to go. You could see an out-braked manoeuvre and a run short across the sand that we saw from Taylor. You just never know these days.
Yeah, it's certainly looking fairly close, but I think as long as Dane doesn't do anything too major in terms of mistakes, I think he should be pretty safe.
Scott Pickering on screen there. He's got a green bucket of KFC. Yeah.
We'll let you draw your own conclusions there.
SVG running the last corner. So one, yeah,
fairly convincing one.
There we go. Bruce celebrating happily for himself as well. A bit of a drift style across the line. Interesting margins there between the rest of the drivers as they finished up across the line there. Most people about a second and a bit between each other.
Yeah, there wasn't too much drama in that race, so I think once everybody sort of got settled into their place, they just settled down into the race and spread out a little bit, and we saw some nice battles, but ultimately just coming home and not pushing too hard for the places that maybe weren't necessarily up for grabs, and keeping it nice and clean.
Yeah, and everyone's been turfed off there now for a bit of a 6-minute warm-up, so anyone who thinks that they've got something else to try and do or test, this is their opportunity to do that now. I suppose for that, what have we got any other special events coming up for SuperCars NZ or anything else worth mentioning for the peoples at home? iRacing special events we could talk about?
Well, there's the Nürburgring 24-hour coming up in a couple of weeks, so that will certainly be a very interesting race.
Yeah. I'm not too sure if there's going to be a SuperCars entry, but I know Sean and Wayne were talking about that the other night on Thursday night during the stream. Yeah, it'd be good if they could, but it's coming from, well, probably I can speak for you as well, coming from two people who have done a couple of 24-hour races. It's certainly not easy. There's some sort of weirdness that takes over you during the manic hours of the morning when you have to wake up to an alarm to come and sit in a simulator to race, to a very weird euphoria once it's all done and dusted at the 24-hour mark, that you could almost imagine you could do another one, couldn't you?
Yes, it's definitely a very interesting experience. Yeah, just completing it is almost a rush in itself, where even if the race hasn't necessarily gone all that well, you get to the end, you're like, that was actually a really awesome thing to do. But generally, in the middle of it, you're like, why on earth did I decide to do this?
I think we all have that. It's there's certainly a good number of the people through SuperCars NZ that have completed some 6, 10, and 12 hour races, but you appreciate that you're only really giving away like half a day at that point, or really a day's worth of commitment. You can still sort of get up and bugger off and go and do your own thing during the day, and then pop back in, and other people have jumped into race. But I think, like I said, just having that knowledge that you've raced past midnight mostly, and then you've set an alarm to wake yourself up 4 hours later to go and do another 2 hours worth of racing, very early hours of the morning to early morning, and then when you get off, at that point you realise that you're only halfway through and there's still a whole another day's worth of racing ahead of you.
Yeah, that's you make it sound so appealing, Doug.
Why do we do it to ourselves? Sean McNamara, though, I hear that you're going to be heading up your own GT3 racing team for the Nürburgring 24 Hour. Prove us wrong.
Oh, no, yes. I was quite interested when someone said, oh, let's do something. I was like, yeah, man, I'm keen. I've got that weekend free. Let's, who knows? I want to talk about how clean the racing was, though, here, right now, in the SuperCars NZ round of this race. Round 6, I believe. Is it round 6?
7.
7. Oh, so just so you know, I actually deleted round 1 because it was such a cluster. It was gone from the point system. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It's gone.
So
you know me.
An 11 race season.
It is in the points. Round 1, and you guys might have a bit of a story on this. It was a good gauge to see where people should be in our league. It's quite hard. We don't do league qualifying sessions or anything like that. So what I put it down to is the split 2 season started from round 2, and then I was trying to work out the point system because I know, Doug, you're really good at it, and I've taken it on this season, and I've struggled because iRacing's point system didn't want to play ball with me. Yep. So I found it easier just to delete season 1 from both from everything, and it worked out well.
Well, it's worked out well for some. I think Shane and I will probably have a chat to you later on about that, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah, it is. It's fine.
It's been fun.
Meh.
Yeah.
Meh. Yeah. So
it has been. It's been. Yeah, good. It has been really good. So there was only really there was only really one issue with Blake getting checked up and then a bit of a half spin on the opening lap, but it didn't really sort of develop into anything else, and everyone raced on. I'm guessing you didn't have any driver standard complaints come through on the radio?
We had one that we ended up calling just a non-incident, which is fine.
Cool.
But and that Blake incident wasn't called in, but what we are doing now in race control is we're going to look at everything. So we used to let them away with it if it wasn't called in, but now we're going to. So that contact was given a drive-through penalty for that contact at turn 2 on lap 1. Yep. And the driver took it and did his job and carried on. So
fantastic.
Yeah, it's to a point now where if you're going to contact and cause spins, we are going to punish them, and it works a little bit. We've been on it for the last couple of days and tonight, and we're trying to put it out to the drivers because on the stream we don't want to see cars spinning.
No.
We don't see people throwing up the wrong side.
Well, unless they're doing it like this, where they're having a fun time doing it, but they're doing it by themselves.
Exactly. And I think people at home do realise these drivers actually pay to be here. This is what I've always said. Like, if you pay to be here, you deserve to be here. But at the end of the day, you've got to show your respect to the other guys that pay to be here. So everyone pays, and hopefully we produce something that you guys are putting on and do a great job in the broadcasting lounge to give them a race. So that's why we're here. So
that's very fair. That's really good. So. Any likelihood of seeing a random safety car during the next race, or do you reckon you'll just let the boys play at it and see how it goes? If reward them for their good driving behaviour if they look after each other.
No race car driver wants a yellow. That's no race car driver wants a yellow.
It's a certainty, isn't
But
it?
we will see what happens in race 2. Let's keep it clean. I've got 10 seconds to go, so I'll leave you boys to it.
Very good.
Enjoy it and have a good call.
We will. Thank you, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers, Doug and Shane. Thank you.
See you. There you go. So there you go, folks. Just a little bit of an update from Sean regarding the first race. So it's good to see that the guys up in race control are doing the best of their ability to keep things going good, as Shane Van Gisbergen nearly stalls it on the line, and he's having a bit of a connection issue there. He's pulled off to the side. So this has given a big run down to the first
car
corner.
gone around in the background as well.
I think that might be Scott Pickering.
Yeah, I think it was Scott Pickering.
So Bruce's lead turn 1s and 2. Craig Mason has made a ripper of a start up 2 grid spots to get there into second place. So he now has Connor Nixon all over the back of him. Dion de Graaf's made 1 spot moving forward under that as well. Craig going very defensive, coming down into that corner there, which is very slow. We'll make sure he doesn't light it up, because that's another very easy thing to do. And a few other cars too wide just in the background. Willie McClune, Jason Cossey having a ripper of a battle there with with Tony Lynch and Bryce Harding as well. Keep our eyes towards the front here for a moment. Craig's done a very good job of working those tyres in nicely there at the moment, not over rotating the car. Bruce Tannock storming ahead, so Craig probably just driving a little bit more on the defensive than what he would like to be at the moment. So put your eyes forward there, Craig, and see if you can go and catch up onto the back of that Bruce Tannock there ahead of you.
Yeah, Craig certainly got a ripper start to jump up into P2 there. I think, based on the previous race, I think Connor probably does have a bit more pace than Craig, so he's probably going to be a little bit the cork in the bottle at the moment, but certainly holding his own so far.
Indeed. I was just checking in. It does look like Shane Van Gisbergen maybe may have withdrawn from the race. Maybe some connection issues there. There's quite a healthy battle picking up here from positions 9 through to 13. James Anderson just getting elbows deep with Ryan Cottrell there in the background. Still here at the front, Craig Mason just over Connor Nixon. And Connor will be playing the smart game. There we go.
Craig's gone deep and there's touch.
Everyone managing to
Connor
get through that.
Oh,
No!
Oh no! And there's more set off by the attempted redress as well.
So that's not gone well for Dion. I didn't catch who that was. That was just locked up under brakes to hit.
It was a skeleton car. I have a feeling that it may have been Heath. Yeah, looks like it was Heath. So that was called in by Dion, but it looks like Heath has managed to redress that and drop to the back. But
There was a big kerfuffle though, wasn't it?
yeah, and Connor calling it in as well. So I don't know if there will be further action, considering as well that the redress probably wasn't done in the best way and set off a bit more drama as well. We'll have to wait and see what race control's view of that is. But it's a gift for Craig Mason, isn't it? He's got a fair bit of pressure taken off him at the moment. He's still got Willie McLean within striking distance, but
yes,
he's got a bit of a gap there at the moment. He'll be a little bit more comfortable than he was a lap ago.
Well, it certainly has made things interesting with having a couple of those guys fall off the back of that. So Craig probably is really quite exposed to losing that position to Willie. Once he gets onto a bit of a free air and a bit of a charge, we often find him making pretty good movements forward. So Craig now with a wee bit of fresh air will be just wanting to focus on hitting those braking points and apexes. But this man here, it's like Shane Van Gisbergen's changed colours, and now it's Bruce Tannock walking away from the field, just a fraction under 4 seconds clear of Craig Mason. Jason Cossey all over the back of Aaron Goodrick, and then this battle group still happening through here. Tony Lynch, Jeremy Maxwell, James Anderson, Oliver Pattinson going with the lightweight version Mustang without the spoiler. Got Ryan Cottrell just hovering in the background of that as well. James and Jeremy going side by side.
It's looking like a very tight battle pack at the moment. Got Jeremy looking to find a way past. Bit of a lock-up going on there. And you can see the Jeremy, while he's attacking James Anderson, he's got the ever-present threat of Jeremy just sitting under his own rear wing there. And any sort of attempt to move offline, he has to be wary that it doesn't then open the door for Oliver to come on through as well.
Certainly anything can happen. So yeah, the last of the data I've got there, Shane Van Gisbergen crashed and jumped back to the pit, so it looked like he might have tried to rejoin us, and then he's had another bit of a silly moment. Blake Grenhall and Evan Young duking it out, P13 and 14 there at the moment. Dion back down into P16 after that early drama. It hasn't pitted though. Dade Northdurf now sporting a Skeleton Sim Sports livery after his transition to their team. Looking very flash with those pink wheels. Heath Parlett following up behind him. And another name further down the order, Taylor Mitchell, but he's actually come up 5 grid spots from where he started, so that's the result of Taylor in the previous race having crashed out and then jumped to the pits. So he'll also be wanting to try and pick off some names and capitalise off hopefully crushing a few more through the pit stop strategies. Connor Nixon has been through the pits and sits down in P20, so it's going to be a long road to recovery from there for him.
Yeah, and seeing Taylor, who obviously qualified near the front and was racing near the front in that first race for a long time. Seen him after starting down the back, only having gained 7 spots so far now with people having pitted. But that just goes to show just how competitive this field is, where, you know, quite often where you see guys that normally run at the front, you might expect to see them to make pretty quick progress early stages in the race while they're racing those guys towards the back. But even in that scenario, he's having to take a bit more time to get through them nice and cleanly, and good to see that he's taking that time. But just the fact that it's not that easy for him just goes to show the level of competitiveness in this field tonight.
It certainly is. You know, we probably don't rate enough of these drivers for the high calibre of driver that they are, but they are Div 1 races. They are Div 1 races for a reason. So even though we may follow a few particular names around towards the front, at any given moment that can drastically change, and we get other people up towards the front, and we'll see them stay there because these guys here, their qualifying and racing times are almost so identical that they're only really separated by the few short hundredths of a second, that no one really has much of an edge over anyone else apart from a driving error or a mechanical failure. So as soon as anything like that happens, drivers from the back come towards the front, and that's where they'll most likely stay for the majority of the race.
The car 64 has just been given a drive-through penalty for contact. That is
Heath Parlett.
Heath Parlett, so that is for the final corner incident we saw there. So while he did try and redress that, I think just the fact that it set off such a large number of drivers
Yeah.
to have their races ruined, and the fact that there was more contact caused by what was probably not the best attempt at a redress as well. I think that has reflected the decision from race control there.
Indeed. So we'll go back and have a quick look at how that all unfolded, and just see the unfortunate event that took place for Heath Parlett and why he's been given that.
So you can see the action unfolding there. Heath, oh yeah, ducking and diving, looking for a way around, and then just misjudging where the front of his car was and getting into the back of Dion and setting all that off, and then you saw he slowed up, attempting to redress, and sort of cut hard across the track, trying to give people room, and it was just all very unfortunate. Probably after the incident, he probably needed to get through the corner and then look at redressing, where you can see there, slowed up mid-corner, come across the track, and didn't make the best decision in his attempt to redress. He had the right intent, looking to redress where he knew he'd made that mistake, but probably just needed to be a little bit smarter about it.
Yeah, certainly nothing malicious, but just needed to be a wee bit smarter, and although tried to do what he thought was best, probably resulted in some more unnecessary incidents amongst drivers. So lap 8, well there we go, lap 9 now of 20, and speaking of incidences, and I'll probably need your assistance on it to get some data for us. We're going to give away some money tonight to one of our drivers, aren't we, Shane?
Yeah, so looking at doing a prize to the driver with the least number of incidents in tonight's race. I believe we'll have to go with just tonight's second race. I don't think
race,
my data's going to cover the whole night. We have got a number of drivers actually still on 0 points. We've got Dane Noda, his teammate Adam Maridovic. Nick Mitchell is in race control, so he's not included. Tony Lynch is also on 0. Sean McNamara again in race control. Jason Cossey, Bruce Tannock, Willie McClune, and Eamon Young. All those guys are all currently on 0 points.
Okay, well, that certainly spices things up. So then there's Eamon Young as well. So that was about 6 names. That would almost be of worthy of maybe doing a spinning wheel at the end to see who deserves doing that. But we can certainly get Sean involved. He may turn around and say that we can give away more than one. So
that's right. Of course, last season when we were doing the bonus points for clean racing, it was the driver who finished highest got the points. So that could be an option as well.
That's a good way to do it. I think that would be a good way to do it. So would you say at the moment there would be that Mr. Bruce Tannock, is it?
Well, it would have to be, wouldn't it? Especially if he ends up winning this race, which he looks to be in the box seat. Obviously, currently sitting 4th at the moment, but top 3, I believe, yet to pit.
Yep, you're right. And also a few other drivers just behind him. Taylor Mitchell and Dane Northworth is involved in that too. So there we go. That's probably going to be the best way to do it. So we'll keep an eye on that towards the end. I think that's probably a good solid way to do it. Shane, highest person up the field in terms of results with the lowest number of incidents will score themselves, I believe, $30 iRacing dollars, wasn't it? That's what they did for Dane.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Wow, that's a healthy sum of coin really in iRacing terms. That's worth about what? One track, one car, couple of tracks.
Yeah.
Certainly nothing to sneeze at. I mean, we say, iRacing is an awesome platform for the drivers to be on. We certainly wouldn't be here without them. They invest a lot into scanning the cars and talking to the professional drivers on developing them so they handle as realistically to the real thing. They go around the world and scan these awesome tracks for us. So to think that you're going to spend $12 to $15 on a race car or a track that you essentially get to keep until forevermore, I would say that's a pretty good investment. You can't show me anywhere else that you can pay as little as what we have to go globetrotting, I suppose, would be the best way to call it.
Yeah, 100%. And as good as this battle between Dion and Ryan is, and actually Dion just throwing it down the inside, so I'll let you stick with this to see how this pans out. And Dion looks like he's been able to make that one stick.
That was cool,
But we've also got a nice tight battle going on between Willie McLoone and Craig Mason at the moment, which will be for net second place once everybody's pitted.
Yeah, so both Willie and Craig have pitted, and I'm actually a bit annoyed that I didn't catch that pass. I wonder if that happened during the incident down at this corner here, the last corner.
I believe it was a pit stop thing. I believe Willie's been able to have a quicker pit stop than Craig and jumped him in the pits, but Craig's certainly shown plenty of pace at the moment. Looking to find a way past. Also just wondering... Craig did pit a lap later than Willie, so I think Willie just managed to trigger the undercut on Craig there.
So I've got it here, Willie passing Craig for P9, so I'll just have a quick look and see where that happened. Yeah, so I'd say it's happened in pit lane there. Nice close run, look at that. Yeah, so Craig just coming out of the pit lane, and Willie blown him by, and he's giving him the light flash. I can think only politely saying, "You bugger, you got past me."
Yeah, so just that one lap on fresher tyres was enough for Willie to get the jump on Craig, but you can see Craig now with one lap fresher tyres than what Willie's got, and he looks to be putting that to good use, showing plenty of pace.
Yes.
He wants to finish P2 on tonight's podium, and he's looking like a good chance, but first he's got to find a way around.
Yes, and also being mindful as well. The tyres certainly have a period of being good before turning to absolute garbage, and they've still got 7 laps to do that. So even though Craig's done a great job to get into striking distance, he's then got to try and ask a lot more of the tyres to put a pass on. And as we said before, all these guys here in Div 1 are very warranted being here, as we see a few little mistakes from Willie taking place just going through that section of S's there. Maybe his mirrors were filled up a little bit too much by car 47 hovering through in the background. I know that's certainly not a place where you want to be keeping an eye on cars, but at the same time you've got to have your wits about you, because at any given time someone may try to do a cheeky dive up the inside, and Racing Room runs out really fast through there.
I did notice though, out of turn 1, Craig had the tail wagging quite a bit, so I think your point about him asking a lot of the tyres may be coming to fruition now, where he's just starting to lose that rear grip a little bit, trying to squeeze that extra little bit out of the power down out of the slow corner, and just slightly getting the rear end stepping out.
Yeah. Would you like to give the folks at home a bit of a play-by-play and see if we can stay on board here with Craig and see what happens?
Yes, starting the lap, tucked in behind Willie McLeod at the moment, heading down in towards turn 1, on the brakes, down the gears, back to second gear, cutting the corner hard. You can see Willie ran quite wide, that's going to give Craig half a sniff down into turn 2, but nowhere really to go with the momentum there. Coming in through turn 3 now, and then through 5 and 6, you've got to find just the right amount that you can cut those curves, and Craig looking to be all over that. Willie was probably a little bit wide at turn 4, and that's given Craig a slight run, but not enough to have a look down the inside at 6. But Willie going wide at 6, so his front tyre's hurting quite a bit now after doing that extra lap on them with the undercut. Through turn 7, just lifting off the throttle a little bit to get through there, on the brakes again for the sweeping chicane at 8 and 9. Both guys understeering through 8. Craig short shifted to 3rd on the way out, up to 4th, on the brakes, back down to 2nd for turn 10, even right down to 1st with a short shift back to 2nd to get on the power. pulling gears down this little straight now. I think Craig got a little bit hot into turn 10 because it looked like Wally was able to pull out a little bit, and the rear locking into the
Whoa.
final corner at turn 11, that has allowed Willie to run away with it. And I think that comes back to what we were talking about with Craig asking a lot of those rear tyres, and they just started to give up the ghost as he was chopping down through the gears into the final corner there.
I almost don't want to stay watching Craig anymore, because commentators curse will probably have bad things happen. So let's have a look up the front on this man here, who's nearly 7 seconds clear of P2. Isn't that just almost an identical replication of the margin we saw from Shane van Gisbergen in the first race?
It's actually quite a bit more than what Shane got to in the first race. I think the extent of Shane's lead before he pitted was out to about 4 seconds, and then after the pit stop, Bruce was able to bring it down to almost a second. So Bruce shown plenty of pace out there tonight.
Wow. There you go. So Bruce Tannock first place currently, Willie McLean there in second, ahead of Craig Mason third. And just behind this battle pack we have Aaron Goodrick and Connor Nixon, who's made quite a stonking recovery to get up into 5th spot after that early drama. Just behind him, James Anderson up 17 grid spots into 6th spot, with Jason Cossey in behind him. Teammate following Jason there, Tony Lynch ahead of Oliver Pattinson. And Bryce Harding, Jim's Mowing, rounding out the top 10. Jeremy Maxwell there up 5 grid spots into P11, Usher Group entry. Just ahead of Dion de Graaf there, the Simblacks #1 car. We've said it before and I'll say it again, Shane, they make a bloody good looking car, and as much as I hate to say it, it is on a Mustang.
Yeah, and for a ugly, squashed up Mustang, it actually looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Certainly does, certainly does. We won't hold that against them, because I think a few of their drivers actually do run around in the Commodores as well. And so just behind Dion we have one Ryan Cottrell up 8 grid spots currently. 13 with Eamon Young putting the pressure on behind him. Taylor Mitchell making a pretty good recovery this race, also up 9 spots to be into P15. As we've got the last couple of laps coming through on that. Adam Marinovich there in some Skeleton Sim Sports entry. It also says Downshift Sim Racing there, 111 entry. And Blake Greenhall not having the best of fun tonight. He's only been able to make up 1 grid spot from the start of his race, which was probably just ahead of this man here, Scott Pickering, car 49. Back down through the order, Roger Forbert and Heath Parlett having a bit of fun out the back. And there's Dane Northdirth there, P21. And last man in tonight's battle pack, Wade Michael. So 22 car field, separated by probably about half a lap.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive to see everybody on the lead lap. Quick note, Bruce Tannock won't be taking away our prize at this point. He has picked up an incident point somewhere, so
Okay.
and there's still looks like about 4 guys at the moment that are still sitting on 0 points.
Very good. I'll let you keep that one in the back of your wee notepad book, and you can do the big reveal at the end of the race.
No pressure.
No, none at all. Just like how I won't pressure you into remembering what next week's racetrack is, eh?
I'm very happy you just reminded me about that.
Thought you would be. Connor Nixon just getting the tail loose a wee bit there behind Aaron Goodrick, so he's obviously getting to the point where he's asked enough of his tyres for this evening. Oh, as James Anderson recovers from a very close lock-up and dive look up the inside of Connor, and it's probably hurt those front tyres a little bit, so I don't think James will be able to do too much more with those the last couple of laps, but you know, he's still sniffing. Connor's actually given him a wee bit of room, so not got the best drive. He's actually got out of that and allowed that to to take place. So James Anderson up into 5th spot, 18 grid spots. So that's an effort in itself. 18 grid spots, James Anderson.
Yeah, that's hugely impressive. Didn't quite catch how he made his way through the field to that extent. I guess just keeping it nice and clean, probably played the right strategy and picked up a few spots through the pit stop as well, and managing to get into a very good position there.
We certainly can't say luck and fortune, because as we know, and we've raced against him ourselves, he is one very fast individual out there. Probably easily by far at some tracks the fastest in the field, but tonight certainly looking like it's going to be Bruce's night as he comes round the final corner taking the white flag. Well, the absolutely ripper is just over 7 seconds, nearly 7.5 seconds ahead of P2 Willie McClune.
Yeah, it looks like Craig Mason just paying the price on having leaned quite heavily on that second set of tyres early in the stint. He's now dropped well off Willie McClune and coming under a bit of pressure from Aaron Goodrick behind. He's just got to hold on for one more lap, so
Yeah.
not too long to hold on, but he will be wanting to make sure he keeps it nice and tidy and doesn't give any of these guys a sniff.
That's it. And James Anderson is all over the back of Aaron Goodrick now as he ducks into possibly having a look coming down into that corner. And Aaron just doing enough to stay ahead of him, so James has only got a couple more corners where he could possibly look at making that move stick. Aaron Goodrick, very, very hard individual to get yourself round behind, but Craig Mason will be quite happy if those two continue to battle it out towards the end. We will come back to our lead car in a minute, but I think it's probably worthwhile staying with this hot little battle pack as
Bruce is coming to the line now, though.
As they come round the last corner. I think that's going to be all she wrote, and so that was a ripper of the race for those guys coming in towards the end. So congratulations to Bruce Tannock taking out P1 over Willie McClune and Craig Mason. Craig giving Willie the big thumbs up with the double flashes. So there was your 1, 2, 3. Aaron Goodrick taking out P4, the Rosetown entry there, as I just heard someone dying along the start-finish line. James Anderson, what a ripper of a race for that man. 18 spots up to finish in 5th. Connor Nixon coming in P6 down 3 with that earlier bit of an issue. Jason Cossey taking out P7 with Tony Lynch, so teammates there taking 7 and 8, so that's be pretty good, happy result for those guys. Bryce Harding in 9th over Oliver Pattinson in 10. Dion de Graaf taking out P11 in that race, and that was, I think, the one and only Simblac's entried car in the Div 1 class tonight. There might have been a few others in the Div 2, or they're just not here this evening. So what an awesome evening of racing. So I think, by all accounts, it seems that the majority of drivers had heeded the messages from race control about keeping things clean and tidy and racing fair. There was only one sort of incident in that second race, which just certainly wasn't malicious driving standards, but just unfortunate for the way that it happened. But yeah, let's give away some money, Shano. The end of the stream. Let you give us the rundown on who was able to finish the race with the least number of incident points and the furthest up the field.
Yeah, so we did have 3 guys come home with 0 incident points. So
Wow.
we had Dane Noda, who came home in 20th position.
Okay, yep. Well done, Dane.
We had Tony Lynch, who came home in 8th
P8.
position.
Wow, yeah.
But our highest place, P2, Willie McLean, finishing with 0 incident points.
Awesome stuff. Well done, Willie. So I can't see Willie down there in the chat. So Willie, if you're listening later on, and I'll flick you a message. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't Willie already won something from us this season, or am I just overthinking it?
I think you might be thinking of Bryce.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Bryce was one of the other winners. Yeah, no. So I just have a look there at the messages, and no, Willie hasn't had anything else. So there's congratulations, Willie. We've got 30 iRacing credits will be heading your way shortly. We'll get a message through to you, and we'll sort out the finer details. But well done, buddy. P2 for you, up 5 grid spots, and along with those championship points, 30 iRacing dollars coming your way for whatever future purchases you may wish to have. Thank you for tonight, Shane. Thank you for being ready to take over if I wasn't going to make it home in time from work. So yeah, it's been good, and hopefully we can have some good fun racing on Thursday night together. Do we have any info on where we're heading for the GT3s?
Yeah, so the GT3s this week, we actually had a new track, which I need to fork out and buy that one. Jerez.
Okay, yep. We'll have to do the same thing, and I'll probably need to spend a wee bit of time on Thursday trying to acclimatise myself to that track. It should be an interesting one. So that's a new iRacing track for everyone this season, and that'll be, well, I can only assume, 45 minutes of fun or complete torture.
Yeah, those are the 2 options.
Pretty much. And for our V8 fans tuning in next Tuesday, whereabouts are we heading?
We will be on the road course at Indianapolis, so that will be very cool to see these V8s going around that track.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that. I think we've been there a couple of times before, haven't we?
Yeah, I believe we have. I can definitely recall being there in the GT3.
Yes, so can I.
I believe we've been there a couple of times in the V8s as well.
So that'll be a good one to tune into. That's a track that I think we run in reverse to the normal nature of of oval racing, heading back around the other way, isn't it?
Yes, so runs the clockwise direction for the road course, where obviously the oval always runs anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
And also, I believe the MotoGP use that, or have used that road course in the anti-clockwise direction, but I don't think that's an option in iRacing.
There you go. That's what we love about you here, Shane, at SuperCars NZ. You're full of great information and wonder, and we certainly wouldn't be able to put on such an expert show without you here helping us with that. So thank you to you, and thank you for joining me again here tonight. Thank you to Simblax for your week's investment with us. We greatly appreciate all of our week sponsors, and to have Simblax jumping on board with us for that, we're truly grateful. Thank you to Sparko Gaming for your season sponsorship. And thank you to iRacing for providing the awesome platform on which we race on. To the folks at home, thank you for tuning in to us and listening to us yarn on about some people who just went for a casual race around a track somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It's been a pleasure. We'll catch you later on. Thank you very much.